Greetings and salutations, welcome to TFI, where in this video we are doing a comparison between all the main VR headsets on the market today, that being the Valve Index, Oculus Rift S, HTC Vive Cosmos, and the original HTC Vive. I was thinking to myself earlier on, right now is the best time to be doing this video, and also to be thinking about buying one, because if you're anything like me, I don't like buying something when I know there's something rumoured to be coming soon that's going to make what I've just bought out of date, irrelevant, and obsolete. Because everyone will be talking about the new thing once that's out, and not about what I've got anymore. It's very materialistic, but that's just the way I am. But right now, as it is, there is no new VR headsets rumoured to be coming around the corner in 2020. What we've got on the market right now is the current relevant lineup for quite some time. All the VR makers, they've dealt their cards. They've shown us what they've got. These are the flagships. And it's a great time to be comparing them and pulling the trigger, especially with it being this time of year with Christmas coming up and the discounted sale period after Christmas. All of this is being done from the point of view of someone who owns them all. This is not a gaming-focused comparison either. This channel is mostly all about business, using products in the world of business, specifically 3D product design and visualization, renderings, walkthroughs, that kind of thing. But there will be an element of gaming to this as we go through this, because most of us will use the VR headsets. If you're buying it for a home office especially, you'll be using it for gaming at some point anyway. So yes, I own them all, except, by the way, the HTC Vive Cosmos. I did send that back because it was an absolute
You are watching TFI.
Great, mate. The way this is going to work and the way I'm going to structure this is I'm going to just whack a table off to the corner of the video with all of the stats for all four headsets, so you can reference those as I'm going through the video. I'm not going to give a full review of each headset because that would take ages. I can talk forever. It's very difficult for me to keep things brief and short. I like to include lots of detail and information and surrounding anecdotes and stuff to drive a point home, like exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to just give you an elevator pitch on each of the headsets, how they stack up against the others, pros and cons based on who you are, what you do, how the product is against all the others, and then we'll move on to the next one after we've covered that one. So we're going to start with the original HTC Vive, released in May 2016. It's 3.5 years old, and HTC is still selling it today for £499. It's came down quite a lot. Originally it was close to 700, so it's dropped in price dramatically. It's still, though, honestly, not a good buy today. The HTC Vive was my first ever VR headset that I bought. It was, and it still is, to this day, the best product I've ever bought, but purely because of what it meant to me at the time and the world it opened up. It stood the test of time for quite a while, but now it shows its age, and it's dwarfed in many areas by all of the other newer headsets. So I can't recommend that you get the original HTC Vive new today anyway. If you can get a good second-hand deal, by all means go for it. $150 to $200 of dollars is probably a good point to be at second-hand, but as new, not so good. It shows its age. It's probably, as well, this is complete speculation, but I suspect HTC will discontinue the original Vive within the next 6 months, purely based on the fact that if you go to their website right now, it's out of stock. That's very unusual for a 3.5-year-old product that hasn't had any kind of recent surge of popularity to just be out of stock, which suggests that they're really ramping down production, looking to phase it out. They're not going to want to support this thing forever. They're bringing out newer headsets. They want to push their newer ones. They don't want people looking at the 3.5-year-old products. So I suspect that's going to be phased out in the next 6 months. Pure speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So as it is right now, not a great buy. The stats of the headset, you can see them in the table. The resolution is not the best. If you're thinking about using this for training courses, if you're doing exhibitions and you're going to have some kind of demonstration on an expo floor and you're thinking about using the HTC Vive, it's very difficult to read text through the lenses of the HTC Vive, purely because the resolution is so low. To try and upscale the resolution inside the headset requires super ridiculous high horsepower running through the headset, which is expensive. And you could just get a different headset and just sort that problem out straight away. The colors in the headset are really nice. It uses an OLED panel instead of an LCD, so just look up OLED TVs. All of the benefits that you see listed for OLED TVs are all present inside this headset. Blacks are deep black, colors really pop out and are saturated. It's beautiful, but everything else around it is great, but it's showing its age, and it's not a good buy in 2020. Right, Vive Cosmos. Wow, where to begin? So I'll not go over old ground again. I have done a couple of videos already on my experience of buying and then being ultimately shattered and destroyed when I realised how broken and terrible the Vive Cosmos was. I'll link those videos up here. I'll not go over all the reasons why again, but elevator pitch, cross the Vive Cosmos off the list. Don't even look at it. It looks great. The marketing pictures are wonderful, but it is fundamentally shocking at every single job a VR headset has to do. Comfort is awful. The visuals are okay, but the tracking is woefully broken. From what I've seen and read since my original videos, there has been a number of band-aid patches, which some people have said has helped. Others have said, no, this is still woefully bad and unusable. And everything else about it is just awful. And I'm so offended and angry that HTC are charging still £699 for what is an awful product. They think that they're in the same league as Valve and Oculus and that they can charge the same and be competitive with price. They can't. HTC don't have the resource or the talent to create units at the same quality level as the other VR players. See, when they did the original Vive, that was a collaboration between Valve and HTC, and ultimately Valve did all the design work and the heavy lifting on the original Vive. HTC were marketers and distributors. That's pretty much it. And they manufactured it, but Valve did all the design work and made it what it was. And when they split and HTC were left to their own devices, the Vive Pro came out in the middle, but that was mostly an iteration of what Valve had already done. And that never really found its position. It never really got a grasp on any market, really. That's why it's not included in this set of comparisons. But when left to their own devices, HTC came out with a Cosmos, and it was abundantly clear from the moment I even just opened the box and saw the cheap packaging and the awful bubble wrap on it. And then when you try and use it for the first time and your hands are floating off into space and the headphones don't clip onto your ears, it's a terrible product. And it's, at best, from someone who's bought it already and returned it, which was a big deal for me. I never return things. It shouldn't be valued at any more than £300. £700 is extortionate. It's not worth anywhere near that. HTC don't have the right to be charging what the others are. They're not competitive with the others. Just cross it off the list right now. Don't even think about it. It looks great, but it's a woefully bad VR headset. Well, this is turning into a great comparison. The first two products have just been completely ruled out. That's kind of intentional because the Oculus Rift S and the Valve Index, in my opinion, are the only two headsets you should be thinking about getting at this point. They're the only two contenders, and they're aimed at different people at different price points for different use cases. So we'll start with the Oculus Rift S. It's still £399, still full price, but it's worth it. Occasionally it will drop down to $350 depending on what time of year it is, what sales are going on. I've never seen it cheaper than $350, but $350 to $400 is a good price for it. The specs on the Oculus Rift S aren't as good as the Valve Index, but it's an absolute worthwhile compromise for the portability and ease of use and convenience you get with the Oculus Rift S. So with this, it's for the person who travels with a laptop and needs to do ad hoc VR, mobile training suites, people who do expo floors, mobile salesmen, anyone who needs to do an ad hoc meeting in a boardroom, someone who might have someone come to their desk and say, I need to see something in VR right now, and you can't fiddle about with setups and external trackers. You just need to open up a laptop or just turn on VR and have it just work. That's who the Oculus Rift is for. And over the time it's been released, Oculus have released several firmware and software updates which have fixed a lot of the early issues with it, and it's now very, very reliable, and it's highly recommended. If that's you, if you need mobile VR, you don't really care about having the absolute clearest of visuals, you just need that ease of use, reliability and convenience, the Oculus Rift is absolutely for you. The resolution is 1280 by 1440 per eye. Text is readable inside the Oculus Rift S. It's not crispy clear, but it's good enough. It is good enough, and not as good as the Valve Index, but again, you do compromise with the visuals for portability a little bit. The panel refresh rate of 80 Hz is one of the biggest criticisms the Oculus Rift has received over its time, because all of the first generation iterations of VR headsets with 90 hertz refresh rate panels. 80 hertz though, without dragging this out for ages, 80 hertz is absolutely fine. If it's the only VR headset you've ever used, you've not used anything else before, you won't notice there's anything amiss with 80 hertz. It's fine. What's not quite so fine though is the LCD panels used in the Oculus Rift S. The first generations had OLED panels in, and OLED is lovely. It really is nice. Deep blacks, crispy saturated colors, whereas LCDs, there's benefits in that you don't see the pixels so much. There's the screen door effect isn't there, but the colors aren't as good. Again though, I'm fine with that compromise in favor of the portability. It's not like it's monochrome. It's great. It's just not as good as OLED. All of the other stats, personally, take them or leave them. The field of view is average. It's the same as all the others. It's the norm. Pixels per degree, 11.63. What does that mean? It's just a stat. It's just a stat. The audio of the Rift S is where it's mostly let down. It does have built-in downward firing speakers built into the headband, which aren't great. The audio is very tinny. It's very weak and flat. But if you're a mobile salesman or a training suite, you don't need super quality audiophile grade audio. As long as you can hear what the system needs to project, it works for that. It's not the best, but it's fine. It's fine. And in terms of weight, it's not too heavy, it's not too light. It's fine. Overall, £400, excellent headset. If you're kind of struggling to get a bit of money together in a budget for a VR solution, the Oculus Rift S is exactly where you want to be. It's amazing for the price. Highly recommend it if you need a mobile VR solution. And last but definitely not least is the Valve Index. I'm struggling to not go off on a tangent and give a full review on this because that would take forever. As discussed, I need to keep it to an elevator pitch. Right. In a nutshell then, elevator pitch. If money's no object and you just want to buy the best of the best, you don't really care about its pros and cons, you just want to buy the best, the Valve Index by a country mile is the best headset out of all of these by a long shot. In every department, it's the best. Valve, who make the Index, they know it and they're charging for it because the full Index kit, which is the headset, the outstanding controllers which give full finger tracking and they're very dexterous, excellent for training, excellent for sales, excellent for anything immersive and interactive where you need the user to interact with the product. Outstanding for that. So headset controllers and the trackers, it does need lighthouse tracking, so it's nowhere near. In fact, it basically isn't very portable at all. But the full kit, £919. It's expensive, but it's the best, hands down, across the board in every category. It's the best. So the resolution comes in at 1440 by 1600. It's the crispiest visual you're going to get out of all of these headsets, and it can be upscaled as well, even higher than that. But because the panel refreshes at 80 or 90 or 120 or 144 hertz, you need some insane PC horsepower to run the Valve Index at its highest settings. So 144 hertz basically isn't happening on today's hardware. Most games aren't SLI supported in VR, so you're not going to be able to use the power of 2 graphics cards to get a game at 144 hertz into the Valve Index. A lot of business applications though that run through the likes of the Unreal Engine or Unity or the likes of Autodesk Red, for example, can support VR SLI, but it's on the developers to support it. But that's what you're going to need. You're going to need dual graphics cards and SLI support to get the Valve Index running at 120 or 144 hertz consistently. Some lighter games will work at that kind of refresh rate, but again, I'm not going to go into that. We'll go on forever. The display type LCD, that does let it down a little bit, but it's the same as the Oculus Rift S. That's where VR technology is headed. So colors are a little bit washed out. They're a little bit faded. Also, the lenses in the Valve Index do disperse light across them quite strongly. God rays are quite prominent in the Valve Index, but not to the point where I'd say, think twice about buying it. Not at all. It's just something that I've noticed, and it's something Valve should probably work on for the next one, but it in no way lets the Valve Index down at all. Visually wise, it's the best of the best by a mile. Refresh rate, resolution, visuals, It's got full IPD adjustment. It changes distance away from your face, and that way it's outstanding. Comfort, it's the padding on the headset is sublime. Whoever designed the Valve Index actually used it before selling it, unlike the Vive Cosmos. It's just incredible. The unboxing experience was perfect. It was premium. You picked the headset out of the box. It just felt so quality, which you need when you're spending that much money on it. You just didn't get that from the Vive Cosmos. The audio in the Valve Index as well. Oh my God, it's got off-ear speakers which fire into your ears. The bass is ridiculous. It's amazing. The highs and the mids are crispy, clear, loud. The clarity in the audio is incredible, and it's spatial as well. You forget that you're listening to a VR headset. You think the audio is coming from some kind of 5.1 system in the room around you. It's incredible. Everything about it is amazing. It's the best one, but you'll pay for it. You'll pay for it. $919 for the full kit. If you've already got the lighthouses, it's $689 for the headset and the controllers, and then just the headset on its own is $459. So elevator pitch, all in all, forget about the original Vive. Forget about the Vive Cosmos. It's between the Index and the Rift S. If you're on a budget, if you're struggling to pay for this or to get someone to approve the spend on a VR kit, and you need portability, that's important. Rift S, hands down. If money's no object and you're going to have a fixed VR solution in one room, and it's going to be something you come back and forth to in one room, the Valve Index by a mile is the best one to go for. Right, mate, there you go. That's as brief and as short as I can make it. 4 products in one video. I could talk about each one for 45 minutes, so to keep it this brief really, really hurt me. You've no idea. There's so much else I needed and I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't. So apologies if there's any information and details excluded, but it's not a full review of each product. It's a comparison in a which one to go for style video. So if you want a full review on the Index or the Rift S, I think I've done the Rift S already, but the Index, then let me know and I'll try and do that in the future. If this video helped you make a decision on which one to buy, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could go to the description and click my affiliate links. Then I'll get a bit of a kickback for it. So yes, links are in the description to the products listed. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll wrap this up now so I don't make it any longer than it needs to be. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodles.